Dune, Part 2 is a 2024 American epic space opera film directed by Denis Villeneuve, who co-wrote the screenplay with Jon Spaihts. The sequel to Dune, 2021, it is the second of a two-part adaptation of the 1965 novel Dune by Frank Herbert, and the second installment of Villeneuve's Dune film trilogy. It follows Paul Atreides as he unites with the Fremen people of the desert planet Arrakis to wage war against House Harkonnen. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Charlotte Rampling, and Javier Bardem reprise their roles from the first film, with Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Christopher Walken, and Léa Seydoux joining the cast. Development began after Legendary Entertainment acquired film and television rights for the Dune franchise in 2016. Villeneuve signed on as director in 2017, intending to make a two-part adaptation of the novel due to its complexity. Production contracts were only secured for the first film before the second film was greenlit by Legendary in October 2021, subject to the success of the first. Principal photography took place in Budapest, Italy, Jordan, and Abu Dhabi between July and December 2022. Delayed from a November 2023 release date due to the 2023 Hollywood labor disputes, Dune, Part 2 premiered at the Auditorio Nacional in Mexico City on February 6, 2024. It was released in the United States on March 1 to positive reviews and grossed $715 million worldwide, surpassing its predecessor and becoming the seventh highest grossing film of 2024. It received numerous accolades, including being named one of the top 10 films of 2024 by the American Film Institute. It received 5 nominations at the 97th Academy Awards, including Best Picture, winning Best Sound and Best Visual Effects. It also won 2 BAFTAs for Best Sound and Best Special Visual Effects, and received 2 nominations at the 82nd Golden Globe Awards, including Best Motion Picture, Drama. Dune, Part 3, a third film based on Herbert's 1969 novel Dune Messiah, is in production and scheduled to be released on December 18, 2026. Plot. Following the defeat of House Atreides by House Harkonnen, a Princess Irulan, daughter of the Padishah Emperor, Shaddam IV records in her journal her father's betrayal of the Atreides. On the planet Arrakis, a Fremen tribe led by Stilgar accompanies Paul Atreides and his pregnant Bene Gesserit mother Lady Jessica to Sichtubr. Some Fremen suspect they are spies, while Stilgar and others see signs of the prophecy that a mother and son from the outer world will bring prosperity to Arrakis. The Fremen accept Paul, but Stilgar commands Jessica to succeed Sichtubr's dying Reverend Mother by ritually drinking the normally fatal water of life. She uses her Bene Gesserit training to transmute the poisonous liquid and survive, inheriting the memories of past Reverend Mothers. The liquid prematurely awakens the mind of her unborn daughter, Alia, allowing Jessica to communicate with her. They agree to focus on convincing the more skeptical Northern Fremen of the prophecy, which Chani and her friend Shishakli correctly deduce to be a myth fabricated by the Bene Gesserit to manipulate the Fremen. Nonetheless, Chani begins to respect Paul after he declares that he only seeks to fight alongside the Fremen, not rule them. Paul and Chani fall in love as Paul immerses himself in Fremen culture, learning their language, becoming a Fadakan fighter, riding a sandworm, and raiding Harkonnen spice harvesting operations. Paul adopts the Fremen names Yozol, translate the strength of a pillar, and Muad'Dib, translate kangaroo mouse. Due to the continuing spice raids, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen installs his cunning and sadistic nephew Phaedra as Arrakis ruler. Lady Margot Fenring of the Bene Gesserit is sent to evaluate Phaedra as a prospective Kwisatz Haderach and secure his genetic lineage. Jessica travels south to unite with Fremen fundamentalists who believe most strongly in the prophecy. Paul remains in the north, fearful that his visions of an apocalyptic holy war will come to pass if he goes south as a messiah. During a raid on a smuggler spice harvester, Paul reunites with the warrior Gurney Halleck, who leads Paul to house Atreides' hidden atomic warhead stockpile. Phaedra unleashes a devastating attack on the Northern Fremen, destroying Siechtebr, killing Shishakli, and forcing Paul and the survivors to journey south. Upon arrival, Paul drinks the water of life and falls into a coma. Jessica hypnotically compels Chani to save Paul. She gives Paul a mixture of her tears with the water of life, which awakens him. With his emerging prescience, Paul perceives countless possible futures and identifies a narrow path to victory, along with a vision of an adult Alia on a water-covered Arrakis. He also discovers that his mother Jessica is the Baron's daughter, and that her union with Duke Leto Atreides was orchestrated by the Bene Gesserit to merge Harkonnen and Atreides bloodlines in their plan to create the Kwisatz Haderach. Paul meets with the Southern Fremen War Council, galvanizing the crowd by demonstrating his ability to discern their deepest thoughts. He declares himself the Lisan al-Gaib, a messianic figure, and challenges the Emperor, who arrives on Arrakis with Irulan and the Sardaukar military force. As the Emperor chastises the Harkonnens for their failures, the Fremen launch an offensive, using atomics and sandworms to overpower the Sardaukar. Paul kills the Baron and captures the Emperor. Meanwhile, Gurney leads an assault on Arrakeen, intercepting and killing Phaedratha's brother and subordinate beast Rabban. Paul challenges the Emperor for the throne and, to Chani's dismay, demands to marry Irulan. Having been summoned by the Baron, the other great houses arrive in orbit, ready to invade the planet, but Paul threatens to destroy the spice fields if they intervene. Phaedratha volunteers as the Emperor's champion and is killed by Paul in their duel. Irulan agrees to marry Paul on condition that he spare her father. The Emperor reluctantly surrenders, but the great houses reject Paul's ascendancy and Paul orders the Fremen to attack the orbiting fleet. As Stilgar leads the Fremen onto the captured Sardaukar ships, Jessica and Alia reflect on the beginning of Paul's holy war. Chani refuses to bow to Paul and prepares to depart alone on a sandworm. Cast: Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides, the exiled Duke of House Atreides who sides with the Fremen to overthrow the tyrannical House Harkonnen. Zendaya as Chani, a young and rebellious Fremen warrior who is Paul's love interest. 5. Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica, Paul's Bene Gesserit mother and concubine to Paul's late father and predecessor, Leto Atreides. Josh Brolin as Gurney Halleck, the former military leader of House Atreides and Paul's mentor and friend. Austin Butler as Phaedratha, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen's youngest nephew and heir, N.A. Baron, to House Harkonnen. Florence Pugh as Princess Irulan, the Emperor's eldest daughter, heiress presumptive and Bene Gesserit initiate. Dave Bautista as Rabban, nephew of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen and older brother of Phaedratha. Christopher Walken as Emperor Shaddam IV, the Padishah Emperor of the known universe and head of House Corino. Lea Seydoux as Lady Margot Fenring, a Bene Gesserit and close friend of the Emperor. Suhala Yaqub as Shishakli, a Fremen warrior and Chani's friend. Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, head of House Harkonnen and former steward of Arrakis, enemy to the Atreides, uncle of Phaedratha and Rabban. Charlotte Rampling as Reverend Mother Moyam, a Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother and the Emperor's truth-sayer. Javier Bardem as Stilgar, leader of the Fremen tribe at Siechtebr. Alison Halstead as the Maker Keeper, a keeper of the water of life in the Fremen tribe. Anya Taylor-Joy makes an uncredited cameo appearance as Alia Atreides, Paul's unborn sister who appears in his visions as well as communicating to Jessica while in her womb. 6-7 Bobs Olusegun and Roger Ewan reprise their roles from the first film as Jamies and Lieutenant Lanville, respectively. Stephen McKinley Henderson filmed scenes reprising his role as Thufir Hawat, while Tim Blake Nelson filmed scenes as an undisclosed character 8-9, but their scenes were not included in the final cut. Both were given a special thanks credit by Villeneuve. 10. Production. Development. Denis Villeneuve returned to direct and co-write Dune, Part 2. In November 2016, Legendary Pictures obtained the film and TV rights for the Dune franchise, based on the eponymous 1965 novel by Frank Herbert. 11 Vice Chair of Worldwide Production for Legendary Mary Parent began discussing with Denis Villeneuve about directing a film adaptation, quickly hiring him after realizing his passion for Dune. 12 In February 2018, Villeneuve was confirmed to be hired as director, and intended to adapt the novel as a two-part film series. 13-14 Villeneuve ultimately secured a two-film deal with Warner Bros. Pictures, in the same style as the two-part adaptation of Stephen King's It in 2017 and 2019. 15 In January 2019, Joe Walker was confirmed as the film's editor. 16 Other crew included Brad Riker as supervising art director, Patrice Vermette as production designer, Paul Lambert as visual effects supervisor, Gerd Nepzer as special effects supervisor, and Thomas Struthers as stunt coordinator. 17. Dune, Part 2 was produced by Villeneuve, Mary Parent, and Cale Boyder, with Tanya LaPointe, Brian Herbert, Byron Merritt, Kim Herbert, Thomas Tull, John Spates, Richard P. Rubenstein, John Harrison, and Herbert W. Gaines serving as executive producers and Kevin J. Anderson as creative consultant. 18 Legendary CEO Joshua Grode confirmed in April 2019 that they plan to make a sequel, adding that there's a logical place to stop the first movie before the book is over. 19. In December 2020, Villeneuve stated that due to Warner Bros.' plan to release the film in theaters and on HBO Max simultaneously, the first film could underperform financially, resulting in cancellation of the planned sequel. 20 In an IMAX screening of the first film's first 10 minutes, the title logo read Dune, Part 1, lending credence to plans for the sequel. 21 In August 2021, Villeneuve spoke more confidently about the chances of a sequel film, iterating his excitement to work with Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya again 22 while stating Chani would have a bigger role in the sequel. 23 Warner Bros. Assured Villeneuve a sequel would be greenlit as long as the film performed well on HBO Max. 24 Just days prior to the first film's release, Warner Bros. CEO Ansar Noff stated, "Will we have a sequel to Dune? If you watch the movie you see how it ends. I think you pretty much know the answer to that." 25. On October 26, 2021, Legendary officially greenlit Dune, Part 2, with a spokesperson for the company stating, "We would not have gotten to this point without the extraordinary vision of Denis and the amazing work of his talented crew, the writers, our stellar cast, our partners at Warner Bros., and of course the fans. Here's to more Dune." 26 Production work had occurred back-to-back with the first film, as Villeneuve and his wife LaPointe immediately took a flight to Budapest in order to begin pre-production work. 27 A key point of negotiation prior to green-lighting the sequel was assuring that the sequel would have an exclusive window where it would only be shown theatrically, with Legendary and Warner Bros. Agreeing to give Dune, Part 2 a 45-day window before it would be available through other channels. Villeneuve said this theatrical exclusivity was a non-negotiable condition, and that the theatrical experience is at the very heart of the cinematic language for me. 28 With Dune, Part 2 being greenlit, Villeneuve said that his primary concern was to complete the filming as soon as possible, with the earliest he expected to start in the last quarter of 2022. He noted that production would be expedited by the work already done for the first film. 28. Writing. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, and Rebecca Ferguson returned as Paul Atreides, Chani, and Lady Jessica, respectively. Eric Roth was hired to co-write the screenplay in April 2017 for the Dune films 29, and John Spates was later confirmed to be co-writing the script alongside Roth and Villeneuve. 30 Game of Thrones, 2011 to 2019. Language creator David Peterson was confirmed to be developing languages for the film in April 2019. 31 Villeneuve and Peterson had created the Chicopsa language, which was used by actors on set. 32 In November 2019, Spates stepped down as showrunner for Dune, Prophecy, 2024 present, to focus on Dune, Part 2. 33 In June 2020, Greg Fraser said, "It's a fully formed story in itself with places to go. It's a fully standalone epic film that people will get a lot out of when they see it. 34. Between the release of Dune and the confirmation of Dune, Part 2, Villeneuve started working the script in a way that production could begin immediately once the film was greenlit. 35. By February 2021, Roth created a full treatment for the sequel 36 with writing beginning that August. 37. He confirmed that Phaedra would appear in the film, and stated he will be a very important character. 38. In March 2022, Villeneuve had mostly finished writing the screenplay. 39. Craig Mazin and Roth wrote additional literary material for the film. 40. Villeneuve stated that the film would continue directly from the first, and specifically described it as being the second part. 41. He described the film as being an epic war movie, adding that while the first film was more contemplative, the second would feature more action. 42. Villeneuve sought to anchor the movie to the characters, primarily Paul and Chani. With the two featured in an epic love story between them, Villeneuve described them as the epicenter of the story. Zendaya initially found difficulty in creating dialogue, commenting that it was funny trying to figure out in this futuristic space talk, like, how do they flirt? Chalamet also added that Paul would be heavily influenced by Chani, serving as his moral compass. Paul becomes deeply embedded in Fremen culture, developing a closer bond with Stilgar, who becomes his surrogate father figure and mentor, while tensions emerge between Chani and Lady Jessica, as Chani is aware that Jessica's schemes negatively impact the Fremen. 41. The script ultimately conveys Chani as a non-believer of the prophecy and intended for its structure to first convey their romantic relationship from Paul's perspective, and eventually pivot to Chani's perspective as the audience realizes Paul's desire for power and insidious nature. 43. He focused on Herbert's original intention to depict Paul as an anti-hero in Dune, on his way to becoming a villain, and wrote the script with that in mind while also considering his future plans regarding Dune Messiah, 1969, particularly by modifying Chani's characterization as he felt that she eventually disappeared in Paul's shadows in the book. 44-45. Feeling he had the benefit of time in doing so, Villeneuve decided to use all the elements of Paul's character arc and play them a bit differently in order to establish his eventual transformation into a villainous figure and becoming what he was trying to fight against. 43. He expanded the role of Chani and Lady Jessica from the novel, and interpreted Chani as being a critique of power. 32. When envisioning the sandworm sequence, Villeneuve primarily relied upon his own drawings and storyboards, as he felt the book did not contain adequate descriptions. He later cited it as being one of his favorite scenes in the film. 46. When writing Paul's character arc, he considered Paul as transforming from a humble figure to a dark messianic figure, and took inspiration from Katsuhiro Otomo's Akira, 1988, when designing the storyboards. 47. Villeneuve felt the film's ending was more tragic than that of the book, feeling that it adequately resolved Paul's storyline across the Dune films while setting up his character arc for a potential third film based on Dune Messiah. 48. Following the first film, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen is described as being heavily debilitated and reliant upon being submerged in fluids, while focusing on choosing an heir, Glossu Beast Rabban or Phaedra, both his nephews. Rabban was regarded as being a bad strategist, while Phaedra is shown to be clever, cunning, and charismatic. 41. Actor Austin Butler felt Phaedra's character served as flip sides of the same coin to Paul, as both had been involved in the Bene Gesserit's genetic breeding program. Butler opined that Phaedra's upbringing on Jedi Prime and self-care for his body explained his arrogance. Meanwhile, Villeneuve noted his psychopathic personality and brutality similar to that of an animal, contrasted with his code of honors and reverence for fighters. 49. Lady Jessica is heavily traumatized by the death of Duke Leto, being compared to Paul as a survivor and strategizing to realize the ambitions of the Bene Gesserit, who aim to fulfill their prophecy to maximize human potential, disregarding morality and ethics. There is additional focus on the political aspect, with Princess Irulan fearing that her father, Emperor Shaddam IV, will lose his throne due to his loss of influence over warring factions. 41 During the sequence of Paul's consumption of the water of life, Villeneuve deliberately altered the time frame to depict an adult Alia for a dramatic effect, and to highlight Alia's unique birth. He and Spates decided to compress the time for both the sequence and Lady Jessica's pregnancy in order to establish more narrative tension. He added that Lady Jessica's conversations with an embryonic Alia was unique, as he felt it was fresh and original to have a character who is powerful and still a pregnant woman while also conveying how others perceive Alia as an abomination. 7 Like Chani and Lady Jessica, Villeneuve further developed Princess Irulan's character and motivations from the novel, with actress Florence Pugh noting her reserved nature and intelligence. 32. Casting. Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, and Christopher Walken joined the cast as Phaedra, Princess Irulan, and Emperor Shaddam IV, respectively. In March 2022, Pugh and Butler were reported to be in talks to star in the film as Princess Irulan and Harkonnen heir Phaedra, respectively. 50-51 Butler was offered the role while having coffee with Villeneuve, without needing to audition. He trained for 4 months in Budapest, using a fitness regimen made by an ex-Navy SEALs member. 52-49 Villeneuve described his performance as being a cross between a psychopath killer, an Olympic sword master, a snake, and Mick Jagger. While Butler researched past cultures, he felt bred brutality and took inspiration from various animals including sharks and snakes. 53-54 Butler said that he drew inspiration from Gary Oldman and Heath Ledger for his performance. 55 He imitated Skarsgård's voice as the Baron, as he felt that Fade would be influenced by the Baron due to growing up with him. 15 In May, Christopher Walken joined the cast as Shaddam IV. 56 In June, Léa Seydoux entered negotiations to join the cast as Lady Margot Fenring. 57 In July, Suhaila Yacoub joined the cast as Shishakli. 58 In January 2023, Tim Blake Nelson was added to the cast in an undisclosed role. 9 Attending the film's London premiere in February 2024, Anya Taylor-Joy confirmed that she had been cast in the film. 59 Villeneuve was surprised that her role had been kept a secret for that long, noting it required so much work to keep that secret. Her role had been revealed in a casting credit list for the film on Letterboxd. 60. Filming. Pre-shooting began on July 4, 2022, at the Brian Tomb in Altevole, Italy, for 2 days. 61 Principal photography was set to begin on July 21 in Budapest, Hungary. 61 but began earlier on July 18. 862 The film was entirely shot using ARRI Alexa LF digital cameras, with new filming locations and sets being used to avoid repetition. 63 In October 2022, Chalamet took a break from filming in order to attend the premiere of Bones and All, 2022. 64 The production team managed to shoot during the partial solar eclipse of October 25, and used the footage for the opening fight scene between Harkonnen and Fremen soldiers. 65 While the scene called for an eclipse, Villeneuve did not know beforehand that filming would coincide with an actual eclipse. In order to ensure that the sun was behind Lady Jessica in a shot where she kills a Harkonnen soldier with a rock, cinematographer Greg Fraser calculated that the shot needed to be filmed at precisely 9:45 in the morning on November 3. 66. That month, production moved to Abu Dhabi and Pugh finished her scenes. 67-68 Certain scenes set at dawn had to be filmed across 3 days to take advantage of the golden hour. 69 A special unit of production filmed scenes with Taylor-Joy in the Namib Desert. 70 Filming wrapped on December 12, 2022. 71 Due to the delays, Villeneuve was able to make a film transfer for projection using the IMAX 70mm and conventional 70mm film formats. 35. Pugh delivered Princess Irulan's opening narration during her first day of filming and for overall production. 72 Villeneuve and Fraser filmed Phaedra's gladiator sequence with specially designed black and white infrared cameras. They wanted the Harkonnens to cheer and stomp rather than applaud, and designed over 30 sections for spectators in the arena. 73 Butler spent his first week on set filming the scene, while the set had very high temperatures that caused some people to faint. 74 He also improvised his kiss scene with the Baron. 75 For romantic scenes between Paul and Chani, the scenes were primarily filmed in remote locations in Jordan during the golden hour. The scenes were often filmed as quickly as possible, with only a 1-hour window being available. 41 The scene of Paul's sandworm ride was filmed practically on a production unit, separate from the main one, led by producer Tanya Lapointe and a special team. Chalamet filmed his scenes on a platform meant to imitate a portion of the sandworm, with gripping devices serving as the reference for the Furman hooks. An industrial fan blew sand on set to emulate the desert climate. 76 Chalamet estimated the scene took over 3 months to film, with individual shoots occurring over a span of 20 to 30 minutes. As the actual sandworm was not built and there were no reference shots, the production team designed a small portion of the worm on set and the actors had to physically visualize and imitate riding the sandworm. 77-78 Butler and Chalamet separately trained with a Kali instructor in Los Angeles for the climactic battle between Paul and Phaedra. They were excited to do the scene, and immediately began practicing once they later met in Budapest. They performed the scene by themselves, including for wide camera shots. Chalamet delivers the monologue entirely in Chekhovsa. 79-80 Ferguson cited Lady Jessica undergoing the Reverend Mother process as her favorite scene, working with contortionists for the scene and comparing it to an Exorcist film. 81 Music. Main article, Dune, Part 2, Soundtrack. Hans Zimmer returned to compose the score of Dune, Part 2. Hans Zimmer returned to compose the film's score after doing so for the previous film. 82 Zimmer had composed over 90 minutes of music prior to the announcement of the film to help give Villeneuve inspiration when writing. 83 Two singles were released on February 15, 2024, by Watertower Music, titled A Time of Quiet Between the Storms and Harvester Attack. The full soundtrack album was released on February 23. 84 Marketing. A teaser trailer for Dune, Part 2 was presented during the Warner Bros. Panel at Cinemacon on April 27, 2023. 6342 First look footage of the cast in character were released online, alongside a teaser poster, on May 2, 2023. 85 The trailer was released to the public the following day. 86 Variety called it breathtaking. 87 GQ hailed the shots of Paul riding a sandworm as the standout sequence. 88 and Fangoria remarked, "If you're not excited for this one, we don't know what to tell you." 89 Chalamet and Zendaya later discussed and promoted the film at a Warner Bros. Presentation at Cine Europe on June 21. 90 A second trailer was released on June 29, 2023. 91 Chris Evangelista of /Film was excited about the appearance of Walken as Emperor Shaddam IV. 92 Ben Travis of Empire praised the seismic and astounding, none more eye-boggling imagery, feeling the scope to be particularly expansive, and noted the monochromatic footage depicting Butler's Phaedra while calling the footage of Walken's appearance impactful. 93 Joshua Rivera of Polygon opined the trailer, simply put, rocks and enjoyed the footage present. 94 The film was promoted during the December 2023 CCXP with Chalamet, Zendaya, Pugh, Butler, and Villeneuve, where over 10 minutes of footage was released. 95 Additional footage from Dune, Part 2 was shown during a limited IMAX theatrical re-release of Christopher Nolan's Tenet, 2020, as part of Warner Bros. Celebration for the former film's release. 96-97 Warner Bros. And Legendary Pictures partnered with Xbox to provide an immersive content suite related to the film, and visual designs inspired by the film being featured on a floating controller, Xbox Series X, and a console holder. Microsoft Flight Simulator also included an expansion pack allowing players to explore Iraqis and pilot the Royal Atreides ornithopter. 98 In November 2023, the Sardaukar were added to Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, 2022, in a collaboration pack. $99 a month later, Paul and Phaedra were added as playable operators to its sequel, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 3, 2023, with an additional Harkonnen soldier skin being announced in March 2024. 101 in September 2023, McFarlane Toys announced a new line of 7-inch figures modeled after characters from the sequel film. 102 Legendary Comics will release Dune, Part 2, the official movie graphic novel with the help of Kickstarter in the same way the previous adaptation was published. 103. Research conducted by Nicolaj Mathies, CEO of Vivo Media, said the promotional campaign for the film on TikTok included 117 posts over a year leading up to its release, an increase from the first film's 108. Messages directly from the cast comprised 24% of the content, with videos featuring Zendaya and Chalamet generating significantly higher viewership. Red carpet content was prioritized to appeal to female audiences, a tactic that contributed to an estimated $2 million increase in the opening box office. According to the marketing research company Fanbox, 57% of TikTok users are female, and hashtags such as #Zendaya have garnered billions of views, leading the core audience for Dune to grow significantly, with a 67.5% increase overall from 2.6 million to 8 million and an 84% increase among superfans. 104. Promotion in Japan also included a collaboration with Mobile Suit Gundam Seed, specifically, their Freedom film. The collaboration featured an alternate version of Dune, Part 2's movie poster featuring Lakis Klein and Kira Yamato in place of Chani and Paul respectively. 105. Popcorn Bucket Meme. In January 2024, images of a forthcoming Dune-themed popcorn bucket from AMC Theaters went viral and became an internet meme after its sandworm-inspired design was compared to an artificial vagina. 106, 107, 108. Reactions to the bucket received millions of views on the social network TikTok. 109 and jokes about it were featured on U.S. late-night television, including a musical sketch on Saturday Night Live with cast members Marcelo Hernandez, Devin Walker, Bowen Yang, and episode host Ao Edbarai. 110, 111. The extensive online attention paid to the bucket led the media to ask much of Dune, Part 2's main cast for their reactions. 112. Denis Villeneuve said that the bucket was an insane marketing idea. 113. That brought a lot of laughter and joy. 114. Griffin Newman in the New York Times chalked up the bucket's appeal to the magic alchemy that results from an object that so many people become perversely fascinated by. 115. The product was one of several popcorn buckets AMC had designed and released alongside recent films, including character heads for Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse and burn books for Mean Girls. 115. Over a month after Dune, Part 2's release, AMC's chief content officer stated that we would have never created the bucket knowing it would be celebrated or mocked, but added that they would continue to create collectible popcorn buckets for other films. 116. At that time, the Dune popcorn buckets were being resold for as high as $175. 113. In the wake of this viral popularity, Marvel Studios announced a bucket of their own for the film Deadpool and Wolverine. 117. Lead actor Ryan Reynolds claimed to have had a hand in its design. 118. And producer Kevin Feige described it as intentionally crude and lewd. 119. However, Villeneuve said that these buckets did not favorably compare to Dune's. The Dune bucket was one of a kind, he said. 120. Release. Theatrical. Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet promoting the film in 2024. Dune, Part 2 was originally scheduled to be released on October 20, 2023 121 but was delayed to November 17, 2023 122 before moving forward 2 weeks to November 3, 2023, to adjust to changes in release schedules from other studios. 123. It was later postponed by over 4 months to March 15, 2024, due to the 2023 Hollywood labor disputes. 124. After the strikes were resolved, the film moved once more up 2 weeks to March 1, 2024. 125. Following the success of Oppenheimer, 2023, in the format, Dune, Part 2 was released in the IMAX 15 perforation 70mm format to 12 venues worldwide, 126, and in standard 5 perforation 70mm format to 38 venues worldwide. 127. Dune, Part 2's world premiere was hosted in the Auditorio Nacional in Mexico City on February 6, 2024. 128. Another premiere was held at Odeon Lux Leicester Square in London on February 15. 129. 130. On January 16, 2024, the film was shown to a dying man in a palliative care home in the Canadian city of Saguenay, in Denis Villeneuve's native province of Quebec. 131. 132. The man had expressed a wish to see Dune, Part 2 before his death. José Gagnon, the co-founder of a company aiming to accompany people at the end of life, relayed his wish to Villeneuve and Tanya Lapointe, his partner and one of the film's producers, through a viral call-out on Facebook. According to Gagnon, Villeneuve and Lapointe were very touched. 133. The pair initially offered to invite the man to see Dune, Part 2 in Los Angeles or Montreal, but since he was too weak to travel, Villeneuve eventually decided to send one of his assistants directly to Saguenay with his private laptop. 131. 133. The film was screened in a room of the care facility, where everyone was required to hand in their cell phones and sign waivers. 133. The man was in too much pain to watch the entire film and stopped halfway through. 132. He eventually died on January 25. 134. This act, which the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation referred to as the actual world premiere of the film, was publicly disclosed after its theatrical release. 135. 131. Home media. The film was released digitally on April 16, 2024, and Blu-ray, DVD and Ultra HD Blu-ray on May 14, 2024, by Warner Brothers. Home entertainment. 136. Dune, Part 2 became available to stream on Max on May 21, 2024. 137. It became the second best-selling film in 2024, across all home entertainment formats in the United Kingdom, with 817,000 units, also achieving first place in physical sales with 132,000 disc units worth $2.5 million. 138. Reception. Box office. Dune, Part 2 grossed $282.7 million in the United States and Canada, and $432.7 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $715.4 million. 3. The film made over $145 million in IMAX alone. 139. The Hollywood Reporter estimated that the film would break even after grossing around $500 million. 140. Deadline Hollywood calculated the film's net profit as $184.3 million, accounting for production budgets, marketing, talent participations, and other costs, box office grosses, television and streaming, and home media revenues, making Dune, Part 2 the seventh most profitable blockbuster of 2024. 141. In the United States and Canada, the film's advanced ticket sales surpassed those of Oppenheimer, 2023, and it was projected to gross $65 to $80 million from 4,050 theaters in its opening weekend. 142. The film made $32.2 million on its first day, including $12 million from previews on February 25 and 29. IMAX screenings made up $4.5 million, 38%, of the early totals. 143 It went on to debut to $82.50 million, 144, doubling the first film's $41 million opening weekend. IMAX screenings made up $18.5 million, 23% of the total, a record for a March release. 145 according to Jeff Goldstein, president of domestic distribution at Warner Brothers, 146 it was much higher than any of us could predict, especially for a genre that is a hard nut to crack. 147 in its second weekend the film made $46.2 million, a 44% drop, finishing second behind newcomer Kung Fu Panda 4. It also surpassed the entire domestic gross of the first film, $108 million, in just 7 days. 148 the film made $28.5 million in its third weekend and $17.6 million in its fourth, remaining in second both times. 150 it also became Timothée Chalamet's highest grossing film in a leading role, surpassing Wonka, 2023. 151. Outside the US and Canada, the film was expected to gross $85 to $90 million from 71 markets in its opening weekend. 142 it grossed $100.02 million in the first 3 days. 152 in its second weekend, the sci-fi epic added $81 million from 72 international markets, including a $20 million opening in China. 153 Dune, Part 2 continued to hold well, grossing $51.2 million and $30.7 million in its third and fourth weekends respectively. 155 as of April 14, 2024, the highest grossing markets were the United Kingdom, $48.1 million, China, $48.1 million, France, $41.8 million, Germany, $38.7 million, and Australia, $22 million. 156. Critical response. The film largely received rave reviews from critics, 157, 158, 159 and was praised for its visual effects and cast performances. Some reviews considered it one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. 161 on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 92% of 456 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 8.4/10. The website's consensus reads, visually thrilling and narratively epic, Dune, Part 2 continues Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of the beloved sci-fi series in spectacular form. 162. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 79 out of 100, based on 62 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. 163 audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale, up from the first film's A, while those polled by PostTrack gave it a 94% overall positive score, with 80% saying they would definitely recommend it. 143. Richard Roper, writing for the Chicago Sun-Times, gave the film 3 stars out of 4, praising the technical and narrative aspects, writing, even as we marvel at the stunning and immersive and Oscar-level cinematography, editing, score, visual effects, production design and sound in Denis Villeneuve's Dune, Part 2, we're reminded at every turn that this is an absolutely bat bleep sick crazy story. 164. Filmmaker Steven Spielberg praised the film, calling it one of the most brilliant science fiction films I have ever seen, while further noting that it's also filled with deeply drawn characters. Yet the dialogue is very sparse when you look at it proportionately to the running time of the film. It's such cinema. The shots are so painterly, yet there's not an angle or single setup that's pretentious. 165 166 Filmmaker James Cameron also praised the film, calling it pure cinema and noting it as an improvement over the 1984 adaptation. 167 Filmmaker Christopher Nolan also praised the film, calling it miraculous and saying, "If, to me, Dune was like Star Wars, then Dune 2 is The Empire Strikes Back." 168 other filmmakers, including Edward Berger, Francis Ford Coppola, Adam Elliott, Jeff Fowler, Reynaldo Marcus Green, Luca Guadagnino, David Lowery, Nicholas Stoller, and Jintz Silbalates cited it as among their favorite films of 2024. 169 170 In June 2025, IndieWire ranked the film at number 95 on its list of the 100 best movies of the 2020s, so far. 171. Other reviews were more mixed. In The Hollywood Reporter, Lovia Gyarki praised the film's technical aspects and performances, but found it failed to fully adapt the book's nuance on themes such as imperialism. 172 Nicholas Barber wrote for the BBC that the film is one of the most jaw-droppingly weird pieces of art house psychedelia ever to come from a major studio, finding the film's grand scale made up for its issues. 173 At the more negative end, Noah Berlatsky writing for CNN judged that the film had failed to present an effective anti-colonial vision by still being centered around Paul's destiny despite an increased voice of opposition from Chani. 174. Some commentators have criticized the film for failing to adequately deal with the original book's Middle East and North Africa, MENA, influences or otherwise incorporate enough representation from the region. 175 Furva Shah, writing for the UK edition of Cosmopolitan, said she felt frustrated as a Muslim viewer, criticizing the film for a lack of MENA casting among the leads despite the use of the region's culture and superficial use of Islam. 176 The New Arab's Hannah Flint also criticized the use of Arab and Islamic cultural items and lack of MENA casting, though did praise that of Swiss-Tunisian actress Suhaila Yacoub as a win for Arab representation. 177 Stephen D. Greydanus, in U.S. Catholic, gives a contrasting view of the film's religious inspirations, noting that the film draws from a number of Abrahamic religions for the purpose of critiquing faith itself, while also noting the spiritualization of ecological concerns through the Furman and an implicit pro-life resonance through the development of Jessica's unborn daughter as a real character. 178. Accolades. Main article, list of accolades received by Dune, Part 2. Future. Main article, Dune, Part 3. Villeneuve has expressed interest in making a third film based on Dune Messiah, the second novel in the series, noting that the possibility for the film depended on the success of Dune, Part 2. 179 180 181 Spates stated in March 2022 that Villeneuve had plans for a third film as well as the television spin-off series Dune, Prophecy. 182 In August 2023, Villeneuve said the third film would serve as the conclusion of a trilogy. 180 He began developing a script in 2023. 183 In February 2024, Villeneuve said the script was almost finished but he did not want to rush it, citing Hollywood's tendency of focusing on release dates over a film's overall quality. 184 I want to make sure that if we go back there a third time I want it to be good and I want it to be even better than Part 2. 27 Villeneuve also considered waiting a few years for Chalamet to grow older, given that Dune Messiah is set 12 years after the events of the original novel. 185. Ahead of Dune, Part 2's release, Zimmer revealed he was already writing music for a third film after Villeneuve came in and wordlessly put a copy of Dune Messiah on his desk. 186 In April 2024, it was reported that Villeneuve and Legendary had officially begun development on the third film. 187 188 Villeneuve has said that Messiah would be his final Dune film. 189 and said in September 2024, it would be a good idea for me to make sure that, in Messiah, there are the seeds in the project if someone wants to do something else afterwards, because they are beautiful books. They are more difficult to adapt. They become more and more esoteric. It's a bit more tricky to adapt, but I'm not closing the door. I will not do it myself, but it could happen with someone else. 190. Filming on the sequel is expected to begin in summer 2025. 191 with a scheduled release on December 18, 2026. 192 According to Deadline Hollywood, Nicole Wolf Momoa and Ida Brooke were cast as Leto II Atreides and Ghanima Atreides. Timothée Chalamet, /Tmy Lme /Tim Thee Chalamet French, Timothée Chalamet, born December 27, 1995, is an American and French actor. His accolades include a Screen Actors Guild Award, in addition to nominations for 2 Academy Awards, 4 British Academy Film Awards and 4 Golden Globe Awards. Chalamet began his career in television, appearing in the drama series Homeland in 2012. In 2014, while a student at Columbia University, he made his film debut in the comedy drama Men, Women and Children and appeared in Christopher Nolan's science fiction film Interstellar. Chalamet came to international attention with the lead role of a love-struck teenager in Luca Guadagnino's coming-of-age film Call Me By Your Name, 2017, earning a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actor, and becoming the 3rd youngest nominee in the category. Alongside supporting roles in Greta Gerwig's films Lady Bird, 2017, and Little Women, 2019, Chalamet took on a starring role as a drug addict Nick Chef in the biopic Beautiful Boy, 2018. He then began leading big-budget films, portraying Paul Atreides in Denis Villeneuve's science fiction films Dune, 2021, and Dune, Part 2, 2024, and Willy Wonka in the musical fantasy film Wonka, 2023. For his portrayal of Bob Dylan in the biographical drama A Complete Unknown, 2024, which he also produced, he was nominated for another Academy Award and became the youngest winner of the SAG Award for Best Actor. On stage, Chalamet starred in John Patrick Shanley's autobiographical play Prodigal Son in 2016, for which he won a Lucille Lortel Award and gained a nomination for a Drama League Award. Off-screen, he has been labeled as a sex symbol and a fashion icon. Early life and education. Timothée Chalamet was born on December 27, 1995, in New York City, and grew up in the federally subsidized Artists Building Manhattan Plaza in Hell's Kitchen under the Mitchell, Lama program. 4567 His older sister, Pauline Chalamet, is an actress. 5 His mother, Nicole Flender, is a 3rd-generation New Yorker, of half Russian Jewish and half Austrian Jewish descent. 8 She is a real estate agent at the Corcoran Group 97 and a former Broadway dancer. Flender earned her bachelor's degree in French from Yale University, and has been a French teacher and dance teacher. 10-11 His French father, Marc Chalamet, is an editor for the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, and New York correspondent for Le Parisien. 5-12-13 Marc is from Nîmes and is of Protestant background. 11-14 Timothy's paternal grandmother, who had moved to France, was originally from Brantford, Ontario. 15-16 On his mother's side, he is a nephew of husband and wife filmmakers and producers Rodman Flender and Amy Lipman. 17. Chalamet is bilingual in English and French B19 and holds dual United States and French citizenship due to his French father. 20 Growing up, Chalamet spent summers in Le Chambon-sur-Lignon 21 a small French village 2 hours from Lyon, at the home of his paternal grandparents. 22 He stated that his time in France led to cross-cultural ambiguities over his identity. 23-24 Chalamet attended PS 87 William T. Sherman School for Elementary School, and MS 245 the Computer School for Middle School, later transferring to the Selective Delta program at MS 54 Booker T. Washington Middle School, which he described as miserable due to the lack of a creative outlet within the school's academically rigorous environment. 25-26 Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight, 2008, inspired Chalamet to pursue a career in acting. 27 He applied to Fiorello H. LaGuardia High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts. His acceptance into the school was a turning point in his appreciation for acting. 28 His sophomore year drama teacher at LaGuardia 29 was so impressed by his audition that he insisted on Chalamet's acceptance into the school, even though he had been rejected in the interview, due to his middle school record, 30 saying, "I gave him the highest score I've ever given a kid auditioning." 31. During high school, Chalamet dated Madonna's daughter Lourdes Leon, a fellow student, for a year. 5. He starred in school musicals as MC in Cabaret and Oscar Lindquist in Sweet Charity, graduating in 2013. 32-33 Chalamet is also a Young Arts alumnus. 34. After high school, Chalamet, then 17, attended Columbia University for a year, majoring in cultural anthropology, and was a resident of Hartley Hall. 21 35 36 37 He later transferred to New York University's Gallatin School of Individualized Study to pursue his acting career more freely. 38 Having found it difficult to assimilate to Columbia directly after filming Interstellar. 39 Upon leaving Columbia, Chalamet moved to Concourse, Bronx. 540 He eventually dropped out of New York University to focus on his acting career and avoid student debt. 41-42 Career 2008 to 2016 Early roles. Chalamet at the 2014 Toronto International Film Festival. As a child, Chalamet appeared in several commercials and acted in 2 horror short films called Sweet Tooth and Clown, before making his television debut on an episode of the long-running police procedural series Law and Order, 2009, playing a murder victim. 21 This was followed by a minor role in the television film Loving Leah, 2009. In 2011, Chalamet made his stage debut in the off-Broadway play The Talls, a coming-of-age comedy set in the 1970s, in which he played a sexually curious 12-year-old. The chief theater critic of New York Daily News wrote, "Chalamet hilariously captures a tween's awakening curiosities about sex." 43-44 In 2012, he had recurring roles in the drama series Royal Pains and the thriller series Homeland, in which Chalamet played Finn Walden, the rebellious son of the vice president. Along with the rest of the cast, he was nominated for a SAG Award for Best Ensemble. 45 In 2014, Chalamet made his feature film debut in a minor role in Jason Reitman's Men, Women and Children. 46 That same year, he played the role of Tom Cooper, the son of Matthew McConaughey's character, in Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. 47 The film received positive reviews, with critics praising the cast's performances, and grossed over $700 million worldwide. 48-49-50 A decade later, Chalamet stated that Interstellar was his favorite film he had ever been in, but shared that at the time he was disappointed because it didn't boost his career as he had assumed it would. 51 Also in 2014, Chalamet had a supporting role in Worst Friends, a comedy which had a limited theatrical release and received positive reviews. 52 In 2015, Chalamet co-starred in Andrew Draws Palermo's fantasy thriller 1 and 2, which premiered at the Berlin International Film Festival, where it received mixed reviews, before its limited theatrical release. 53-54-55 His next role was playing the teenage version of James Franco's character, Stephen Elliott, in Pamela Romanowski's The Adderall Diaries. 56 In his final role of 2015, Chalamet played Charlie Cooper, the sullen grandson of Diane Keaton and John Goodman's characters in the Christmas comedy Love the Coopers, which received negative reviews. 57 In 2016, Chalamet starred as Jim Quinn in the autobiographical play Prodigal Son at Manhattan Theatre Club. Handpicked by its playwright and director John Patrick Shanley and producer Scott Rudin, Chalamet portrayed a younger Shanley, a misfit Bronx kid in a prestigious New Hampshire prep school set in 1963. 58 His performance was praised and won him the Lucille Lortel Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Play, in addition to a nomination for the Drama League Award for Distinguished Performance. 59 60 61 62 Chalamet also co-starred opposite Lily Rabe in Julia Hart's Miss Stevens as the troubled student Billy Midman. Stephen Farber of The Hollywood Reporter described Chalamet's act as compelling and startling, with his character's speech from Death of a Salesman as among the best he has ever seen. 63 Stephen Holden of the New York Times compared him to James Dean. 64. 2017 to 2020, Breakthrough. Chalamet at the 2017 Berlin International Film Festival. After being attached to the project for 3 years, Chalamet starred in Luca Guadagnino's Call Me By Your Name, based on the novel of the same name by Andrea Simon. 65-66 The story revolves around Elio Perlman, a young man living in Italy during the 1980s, who falls in love with Oliver, Armie Hammer, a university student who has come to stay with his family. In preparation, Chalamet learned to speak Italian, as well as to play the piano and guitar. 39 Call Me By Your Name premiered at the 2017 Sundance Film Festival to critical acclaim. 67 critics particularly highlighted Chalamet's performance. 68-69 Ollie Richards of Empire wrote, "In a film in which every performance is terrific, Chalamet makes the rest look like they're acting. He alone would make the film worth watching." 70 John Frosch of The Hollywood Reporter stated that no performance during the year felt as emotionally, physically, and intellectually alive, and included Chalamet in the magazine's list of the best performances of the year. 71 Time and the New York Times also featured him in such lists. 72-73 He won the Gotham Independent Film Award for Breakthrough Actor and the Independent Spirit Award for Best Male Lead. 74-75 and received nominations for the Critics' Choice Movie Award, Golden Globe Award, SAG Award, BAFTA Award, and Academy Award, all for Best Actor. 76-77-78-79 He is the third youngest person to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor, as well as the youngest since 19-year-old Mickey Rooney in Babes in Arms in 1939. 76-80 In his second film of 2017, Chalamet played Daniel, a gawky teenager who gets swept up in the drug-dealing business throughout a summer, in Elijah Bynum's directorial debut, Hot Summer Nights. It received a limited theatrical release the following year and generated mixed reviews from critics, though Chalamet received praise from K. Austin Collins of Vanity Fair, who called the sensitivity in his performance something special. 81-82-83 Later that year, he played Kyle Skybel, a rich hipster in a band and a love interest of Saoirse Ronan's character in Lady Bird, the solo directorial debut of Greta Gerwig. 84 Critics praised the ensemble cast, with Ty Burr of the Boston Globe taking particular note of Chalamet's hilarious performance. 85 In his final film of 2017, Scott Cooper's Western Hostiles, Chalamet played a young soldier named Philippe Desjardins, alongside Christian Bale. 23. Chalamet at the 2018 Toronto International Film Festival. In 2018, Chalamet joined the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. 86 Later that year, Chalamet portrayed Nick Sheff, a teenager addicted to methamphetamine who shares a strained relationship with his father, the journalist David Sheff, portrayed by Steve Carell, in the drama Beautiful Boy. Directed by Felix van Groningen, the film is based on a pair of memoirs: the elder Sheff's memoir of the same name and Tweak, Growing Up on Methamphetamines by Nick Sheff. 87 Owen Gleiberman of Variety drew comparisons with Chalamet's performance in Call Me By Your Name, stating that Nick, in his muffled millennial James Dean way, as skittery and self-involved, is a transformation from the marvelous directness he displayed in the role of Elio Perlman. 88 He received nominations for Best Supporting Actor at the Golden Globe, SAG, and BAFTA award ceremonies. 89 The following year, Chalamet starred in Woody Allen's romantic comedy A Rainy Day in New York. 90 The Me Too movement prompted a resurgence of the 1992 sexual abuse allegation against Allen. Chalamet said he was unable to answer questions about working with Allen due to his contractual obligations. The Huffington Post obtained a copy of Chalamet's contract which disputed this. 91 Chalamet donated his salary to the charities Time's Up, LGBT Center of New York, and reigned 92, 93, 94 and did not promote the film. 95 Allen claimed in his 2020 memoir apropos of Nothing that Chalamet told Allen's sister Letty Aronson that he only denounced him in an attempt to improve his chances of winning an Academy Award for Call Me By Your Name. 96. Chalamet next portrayed Henry V of England, a prince who, as a young man, becomes King of England, in David McCode's Netflix period drama The King, based on several plays from Shakespeare's Henriade. 97-98 Richard Lawson of Vanity Fair wrote, Chalamet does robust work, straightening his lanky posture as he goes, rising up into the role like a man ascendant. 99 In his third film release of 2019, Chalamet portrayed Theodore Laurie Lawrence, a love-struck teenager, in Little Women, an adaptation of Louisa May Alcott's novel of the same name. Marking his second collaboration with Gerwig and Ronan 100, the film was acclaimed by critics 101, two of whom Peter Travers of Rolling Stone and Ann Hornaday of The Washington Post also praised Chalamet's performance. Travers noted that the actor portrays the role with innate charm and poignant vulnerability, while Hornaday highlighted his languidly graceful performance and its playful physicality. 102-103 Chalamet hosted an episode of the sketch comedy series Saturday Night Live in 2020. 104. 2021, present, established actor. In 2021, Chalamet portrayed a student revolutionary in Wes Anderson's ensemble comedy drama The French Dispatch. 105-106 The film had its world premiere at the 2021 Cannes Film Festival, where it generated positive reviews. 107 Anderson wrote the role with Chalamet in mind. 108 Brianna Ziegler of Paste found him to be perfectly attuned to Anderson's highly specified wavelength. 109 Chalamet starred as the main character Paul Atreides in Denis Villeneuve's film adaptation of the science fiction novel Dune, which premiered at the 78th Venice International Film Festival. 110 Villeneuve stated that Chalamet was his only choice to play the role. I needed that for the audience to believe this young man will be able to lead a whole planet. 111. Chalamet received positive reviews for his performance, with The Hollywood Reporter's David Rooney praising his magnetic pensiveness that gives the coming-of-age element some heart, and Lewis Knight of Daily Mirror writing that Timothée Chalamet completes his ascension to Hollywood leading man status. 112-113 Dune earned over $400 million worldwide to emerge as one of the year's highest-grossing films. 114 In his final role of the year, Chalamet played a skater punk in Adam McKay's Netflix ensemble comedy film Don't Look Up. 115 It received mixed reviews from critics. 116 Justin Chang of the Los Angeles Times found Chalamet sweetly sincere in his small part. 117 The ensemble cast of the film was nominated for a SAG Award. 118. Chalamet reunited with Guadagnino in the road film Bones and All, 2022, in which he starred alongside Taylor Russell as Cannibal Drifters. 119 The project marked his first production venture, and Chalamet credited Guadagnino for mentoring him through the process. 120 Bones and All premiered at the 79th Venice International Film Festival. Leela Latif of IndieWire praised the chemistry between Chalamet and Russell and took note of his near-peerless ability to gently weep. 121 And John Frosch of The Hollywood Reporter added that Chalamet reminded us why he's the best actor of his generation. 122 That same year, Chalamet lent his voice to the Netflix adult animated musical special Intergalactic. 123. Zendaya and Chalamet promoting Dune, Part 2 in 2024. In 2023, Chalamet hosted Saturday Night Live for a second time. 124 He then portrayed Willy Wonka in the musical film Wonka, directed by Paul King, for which Chalamet was paid $9 million. 125 He was King's only choice for the role, stating that he cast the actor without an audition after seeing his high school performances on YouTube that proved his singing and dancing skills. 126 Chalamet sang 7 songs for the film's soundtrack. 127 Slant Magazine's Derek Smith commended Chalamet for imbuing Wonka with a warmth and tenderness that's in perfect unison with the vibrant and bizarre world that King creates here. 128 His performance earned him another nomination for a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor. 129 Wonka grossed over $634 million worldwide to rank as the 8th highest grossing film of 2023. 131. The following year, Chalamet reprised the role of Paul Atreides in the sequel to Dune, titled Dune, Part 2. 133 Variety reported that the box office success of Wonka and Dune, Part 2 established Chalamet as a major star. 134 Soon after, he signed a first-look deal with the studio Warner Brothers to star in and produce more films. 135 Dune, Part 2 grossed over $714 million worldwide to rank as the highest-grossing film with Chalamet in a starring role and the 7th highest-grossing film of 2024. 137 In his second project of the year, Chalamet produced and portrayed Bob Dylan in the biopic A Complete Unknown, directed by James Mangold. It was filmed and released in 2024, 5 years after he began preparing to play the part. 138 139 140 Dylan himself responded positively to Chalamet's casting. 141 To stay immersed in the role, Chalamet remained aloof on set and was referred to as Bob Dylan on the call sheet. 142 Even so, he did not deem it method acting. 143 For the film's accompanying soundtrack, he sang 40 Dylan songs, while also playing guitars and harmonicas. 144 BBC Culture's Karen James wrote that Chalamet is brilliant here and completely believable, better than the film itself. He sings and plays guitar and harmonica with apparent ease, and creates a thoroughly convincing avatar of Dylan. 145 He received nominations for the Academy, BAFTA, and Golden Globe for Best Actor. 146 147 148 and became the youngest person to win the SAG Award for Best Actor, at age 29. 149 In 2025, in addition to hosting Saturday Night Live for the 3rd time, Chalamet also performed 3 Dylan songs on the show as its musical guest, becoming the first non-pro singer to fill the role in 30 years. 151 He will next produce and play a character inspired by Marty Reisman in the sports film Marty Supreme, directed by Josh Safdie. 152 He is also set to reprise his role as Paul Atreides in the last installment of the Dune film trilogy, titled Dune, Part 3. 153 Chalamet is slated to reunite with Mangold for High Side, a motocross heist film. 154 Public image and fashion. Several media publications consider Chalamet to be among the most talented actors of his generation. 155 156 Remarking upon his performance in Beautiful Boy, Kenneth Turan of the Los Angeles Times wrote that he might be the male actor of his generation. 157 In 2018, he appeared in Forbes' 30 Under 30 Hollywood and Entertainment list. 158 Chalamet at the 2025 Berlin International Film Festival. Chalamet has been described by the media as a sex symbol. 159 160 161 and a fashion icon. 162 With his hair, jawline, and androgynous looks highlighted as his trademarks. 163 164 The New York Times grouped Chalamet into a label it called Noodle Boys, noted for their sinewy appearance and who served as an alternative image of white masculinity in American pop culture. 165 Vogue named Chalamet the most influential man in fashion in 2019 and credits him for continuing to ply the boundary between traditional masculinity and femininity, writing those fashion choices are all the more impressive considering that Chalamet styles himself. 166 In 2020, Men's magazine GQ ranked Chalamet as the best-dressed man in the world 167, and in 2023, he was voted most stylish man of the year by GQ's readers. 168. He briefly attended a Timothée Chalamet look-alike contest in Washington Square Park in late 2024. 169. Kickstarting a large increase in the prevalence of celebrity look-alike contests that year. 171. Chalamet served as one of the co-chairs of the 2021 Met Gala, alongside singer Billie Eilish, professional tennis player Naomi Osaka and poet Amanda Gorman. The event was part of the Costume Institute's exhibit in America, A Lexicon of Fashion. 172. That same year, Chalamet became a brand ambassador for Cartier. 173. He also collaborated with Haider Ackermann to design a hoodie with 100% of the proceeds going to French organization Afghanistan Libre, which is centered around preserving the rights of women in Afghanistan. 174. They first met in Paris in 2017 at the request of Chalamet's agent Brian Swardstrom, who wanted Ackermann to style him for his first red carpet, at that year's Berlin International Film Festival. 175. 176. They have since maintained a close friendship and creative partnership. 176. 177. 178. Chalamet also had a close relationship with late designer Virgil Abloh. 179. 180. At the 94th Academy Awards, Chalamet wore a sequined Louis Vuitton jacket from Nicolas Ghesquire's women's wear collection without a shirt. W declared that he had rewritten the gentleman's Oscar dress code for good, highlighting the boundary-pushing outfit that blurred the lines of fashion's traditional gender divide. 181. He subsequently appeared on the cover of the October 2022 print edition of British Vogue, becoming the first solo male to do so in the magazine's history. 182. 183. In 2023, Chalamet became the face of Chanel's men's fragrance Bleu de Chanel. 184. Taking over from the late French actor Gaspard Ulliel. The advertising campaign starring Chalamet and shot by photographer Mario Sorrenti was released in June, followed by a campaign film directed by Martin Scorsese which premiered in May 2024. 185. 186. 187. He reportedly received $35 million for his involvement in the campaign. 188. That same year, Chalamet worked with Cartier to create a costume necklace and collaborated with Nike on a pair of dunk lows. Both items were influenced by his character of Willy Wonka. 189. 190. In 2025, he collaborated with Namayas to design a hoodie inspired by his role in A Complete Unknown. 191. That same year he became Lucid Motors' first ever global ambassador. 192. Personal life. Chalamet splits his time between New York City and California. 193. 194. Despite significant media attention and public interest, he rarely discusses the romantic aspects of his personal life. 183. As of April 2023, he is in a relationship with Kylie Jenner. 195. 196. Chalamet is an avid sports fan. In his youth, he aspired to be a professional soccer player. 21. He is childhood friends with now professional soccer player, Alex Mouille. 197. Chalamet is a lifelong supporter of the French soccer team Saint-Étienne, based near his childhood summer home of Le Chambon-sur-Lignon, and the New York Knicks basketball team. 198. 199. Appearing on ESPN's College Game Day as its guest picker for the 2024 College Football Conference Championships, he impressed viewers with his analysis of the matchups, gaining specific attention for his pick of Ohio to upset the Miami Redhawks in the MAC championship. 200. The Bobcats went on to rout the Redhawks, 38-3. 201. At age 15, Chalamet operated a YouTube channel called Modded Controller 360 in which he presented Xbox 360 controllers that he customized. 202 He enjoys hip-hop music. 203 And considers rapper Kid Cudi to be his biggest career inspiration, alongside actors Leonardo DiCaprio and Joaquin Phoenix. 204 Performances and accolades. Main articles, list of Timothée Chalamet performances and list of awards and nominations received by Timothée Chalamet. Chalamet was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actor for his performances in Call Me By Your Name and A Complete Unknown. 76 148 He also received 3 SAG Award nominations for his roles in Call Me By Your Name, Beautiful Boy, and A Complete Unknown, winning for the latter. 78 89 205 His other accolades include 4 Golden Globe Award nominations for his roles in Call Me By Your Name, Beautiful Boy, Wonka, and A Complete Unknown. 206 And nominations at the BAFTA Film Awards for his performances in Call Me By Your Name, Beautiful Boy, and A Complete Unknown. Zendaya Marie Stoermer Coleman /Zendai/Zendai 2 born September 1, 1996, 3-4 is an American actress and singer. Her accolades include 2 Primetime Emmy Awards and a Golden Globe Award. In 2022, Time named her one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Born and raised in Oakland, California, Zendaya began her career as a child model and backup dancer. She made her television debut as Rocky Blue in the Disney Channel sitcom Shake It Up, 2010 to 2013, and starred as Casey in the channel sitcom Casey Undercover, 2015 to 2018. Her feature film debut came as MJ in the Marvel Cinematic Universe film Spider-Man: Homecoming, 2017. She later reprised her role in its sequels Far From Home, 2019, and No Way Home, 2021. Zendaya's performance as Rue Bennett, a struggling drug-addicted teenager in the HBO teen drama series Euphoria, 2019, present, made her the youngest recipient of the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series, which she won twice. Her other film roles include the musical The Greatest Showman, 2017, the romantic dramas Malcolm and Marie, 2021, and Challengers, 2024, and Chani in the science fiction films Dune, 2021, and Dune, Part 2, 2024. In 2011, Zendaya released the singles Swag It Out and Watch Me, the latter a collaboration with Bella Thorne. She signed with Hollywood Records in 2012, and released her first studio album Zendaya in 2013, to moderate success. The album's lead single, Replay, reached the top 40 on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart. Her Zac Efron collaboration, Rewrite the Stars, from The Greatest Showman soundtrack, 2017, reached the top 20 of several record charts and has received multi-platinum sales certifications globally. She has also written and performed several songs for Euphoria. Early life. Zendaya Marie Stoermer Coleman V was born on September 1, 1996, in Oakland, California, to teachers Claire Stoermer VI and Kazembe Ajima Coleman. 7 Her father is African American, with DNA testing showing Nigerian ancestry. Her mother has German and Scottish ancestry. 578 Zendaya, whose name derives from the Shona name Tende, meaning to give thanks. 9, has 6 older half-siblings, from her father's previous relationships, 1 from a first wife, and 5 from a second wife. 10 11 12 She attended Fruitvale Elementary School, where her mother taught for 2 decades. 6 At age 6, she and 2 friends from the school performed a play there for Black History Month. 13 At age 8, Zendaya joined a hip-hop dance troupe called Future Shock Oakland and was a member for 3 years. She also spent 2 years dancing hula with the Academy of Hawaiian Arts. 14 15 16 Zendaya grew as a performer in part at the nearby California Shakespeare Theater in Orinda, California, where her mother worked a summer job as the house manager. Zendaya helped her seat patrons, sold fundraising tickets, and was finally inspired to pursue acting by the theatrical performances. 17-18. Zendaya attended Oakland School for the Arts and, while still a student, was cast in several roles in area theaters. At the Berkeley Playhouse, she played Little T.I. Mound in Once on This Island, and in the Theater Works production in Palo Alto, she played a character originally written as male, Joe, in Caroline, or Change. 1918. Reviewing the latter, Keith Kreitman of San Mateo Daily Journal called the 11-year-old Zendaya's performance a pure delight. 20. She studied at the Calais Hakes Conservatory program and the American Conservatory Theater. 21-22. Her stage credits include performances in several of William Shakespeare's plays. She played Lady Anne in Richard III and Celia in As You Like It and took part in a production of Twelfth Night. 23-24. When Zendaya was in 7th grade, the family moved to Los Angeles. 7. In 2015, while pursuing an acting career, she graduated from Oak Park High School. 25. Career. 2009 to 2018, early work and breakthrough. Zendaya began her career working as a fashion model for Macy's, Mervyn's, and Old Navy. She was featured in an iCarly Toys ad. 26. She also appeared as a backup dancer in a Sears commercial featuring Disney star Selena Gomez. In 2009, she was a featured performer in the Kidz Bop music video for its cover of the song Hot and Cold by Katy Perry, which was released on Kidz Bop 15. 26-27. In November 2009, she auditioned for the role of Cease Jones in the Disney sitcom Shake It Up, titled Dance Dance Chicago at the time. 28. For her audition, she performed Michael Jackson's Leave Me Alone. 29. She was selected to play Rocky Blue. Shake It Up premiered on November 7, 2010, and was watched by 6.2 million viewers, becoming Disney Channel's second highest rated premiere in Disney Channel's 27-year history. 30. Zendaya hosting the Make Your Mark, Ultimate Dance-Off event in 2011. In 2011, Zendaya released Swag It Out, a promotional independent single. 31. She also starred in the book trailer for From Bad to Cursed by Katie Allender. 32. In June of the same year, she released Watch Me, performing with Bella Thorne. The song peaked at 86 on the Billboard Hot 100. 33. The second season of Shake It Up premiered on September 18, 2011. Zendaya hosted Make Your Mark, Ultimate Dance-Off 2011 on Disney Channel. In 2011, Target stores began selling Designed, a line of clothing inspired by the clothes worn by Zendaya and other cast members of Shake It Up. 34-35. Zendaya's first film role was in Frenemies, 2012, a Disney Channel original movie. 26-29-36. On February 29, 2012, Something to Dance For was released as a promotional single for Live 2 Dance. For the soundtrack, Zendaya also recorded 3 other songs, Made in Japan, Same Heart, and Fashion Is My Kryptonite, released as promotional single. In June 2012, Shake It Up was renewed for a third and final season. 37. On September 2, 2012, she signed to Hollywood Records. 38. In October, she performed at the Teen Music Festival and at the Operation Smile benefit. 39. Zendaya was one of the celebrities who would compete on season 16 of Dancing with the Stars. 40. At 16, she was the youngest contestant ever to participate on the show, before Willow Shields succeeded her at 14 on season 20. She was partnered up with professional dancer Valentin Chmerkovsky. In May, the couple finished as runners-up behind Kelly Pickler and Derek Hoff. 41-42. Zendaya's self-titled debut album was released on September 17, 2013. It was preceded by the single Replay, released on July 16, 2013, written by Tiffany Fred and Paul Famas Shelton. In August 2013, she was cast as 16-year-old Zoe Stevens, the lead character in the Disney Channel original movie Zapped, whose smartphone begins to somehow control all the boys around her. 43. In November 2013, Zendaya was selected as Elvis Duran's Artist of the Month and was featured on NBC's Today, where she performed live her single Replay. 44. Zendaya was next cast as the lead in a Disney Channel pilot called Super Awesome Katie. 45. It was ordered to series by Disney Channel in May 2014, with the series now under the title KC Undercover, and with Zendaya's character now named KC Cooper rather than Katie Cooper. 46. Zendaya exerted influence over the renaming of her character and the retitling of the series, also deciding several key elements of the character's personality. 47. KC Undercover premiered on Disney Channel on January 18, 2015. 48, and was renewed for a second season in May 2015. 49. In 2014, Zendaya was a guest judge on an episode of Project Runway, Under the Gun. In the episode, the contestant designers were given the challenge of creating an outfit for Zendaya to wear in an upcoming concert performance. 50-51. In February 2015, after a joke made by Giuliana Rancic concerning Zendaya, in reference to her hair smelling of patchouli oil and weed at the 87th Academy Awards, 52, Zendaya promptly took to Instagram to address the remark and point out that many successful people have locks, a hairstyle that has nothing to do with drugs. Mattel honored Zendaya with her own Barbie, replicating her Oscars look. 53. The doll belongs to Mattel's Barbie Sheroes project, which honors inspirational living women. 54, 55, 56, 57. The following month, musician Timbaland confirmed that he was working with Zendaya on her second album, following her switching record labels from Disney to Republic. 58, 59. Something New, featuring Chris Brown, was released on February 5 via Hollywood Records and Republic Records. The song also marks it as her first official release since signing to Republic Records. 60. In December 2016, she appeared as a guest judge in the season finale of the 15th season of the reality television series Project Runway. 61. Zendaya made her feature film debut as Michelle in the Marvel Cinematic Universe film Spider-Man: Homecoming, which was released in July 2017. 62. Zendaya wore no makeup to her screen test, a decision that was carried through in production, and added her own embellishments to the role, such as carrying around a mug of herbal tea. 63. Zendaya described the character as very dry, awkward, intellectual. 64. She added that it was refreshing that Michelle was weird and different, feeling that a lot of young people, especially young women, can relate to that. 65. The film grossed $117 million in its first weekend, ranking number 1 at the box office. 66. John DeFore of The Hollywood Reporter praised her as a scene stealer, 67, while David Ehrlich of IndieWire called her the film's MVP, despite her brief screen time. 68. In August, Zendaya appeared in the music video for the song Versace on the Floor by Bruno Mars. 69. In December 2017, Zendaya co-starred in the original musical film The Greatest Showman. She portrayed a trapeze artist who falls in love with Zac Efron's character at a time when interracial romance was taboo. Owen Gleiberman of Variety praised her chemistry with Efron. 70. The Hollywood Reporter praised Zendaya for registering strongest, bringing touching sensitivity to her handful of scenes. 71. She appeared on 3 tracks of the film's soundtrack, including Rewrite the Stars. 72. The film met mixed reception but became the 3rd highest grossing live-action musical ever released. 73-74. In September 2018, Warner Brothers released the animated film Smallfoot, in which Zendaya voiced the Yeti Michi. 75. She also sang 2 songs for the soundtrack. The film received positive reviews. 76. 2019, present, rise to prominence. Zendaya at the premiere of Spider-Man: Far From Home in 2019. In 2019, Zendaya began starring in the HBO drama series Euphoria, an adaptation of the Israeli series of the same name, as Rue, a 17-year-old drug addict and the narrator of the series. 77. The series premiered on June 16, 2019, to positive critical reception, with her performance receiving acclaim. Rebecca Nicholson of The Guardian wrote that Zendaya is reinvented as the self-destructive, self-loathing Rue, in what is a truly astonishing, mesmerizing performance, upending every expectation of what she could do. 78. Doreen St. Felix of The New Yorker echoed the sentiment, writing, "It becomes difficult, and then absolutely silly, to recall the pink outlines of her early career on the Disney Channel, so grandly does she inhabit this dark new role. She understands the neediness of her character, that Rue, at heart, wants nothing more than to be loved, that her chemical cravings work in service of a spiritual one." 79. Also in 2019, Zendaya reprised her role as MJ in Spider-Man: Far From Home. 80. Critic Christy Lemire called Zendaya's portrayal darkly alluring and praised her humorous, deadpan charm. 81. The film was a commercial success, becoming the fourth highest grossing release of the year. 82. 83. At the 72nd Primetime Emmy Awards in 2020, Zendaya won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series, becoming the youngest winner of the award at the age of 24. 84. In 2021, Zendaya starred in Malcolm and Marie, which was filmed during the first phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. The production complied with extensive safety protocols and had a lean crew to minimize health risks. The film co-stars John David Washington, and was directed by Sam Levinson, who also created Euphoria. 85. Zendaya allocated shares to the film to everyone involved in its making, as a way of offering a financial bonus when the movie was sold. 86. Part of the proceeds was shared with Feeding America. 87. The film had a mixed reception, but Zendaya's performance was positively reviewed. 88. Brian Truitt of USA Today described her as luminous and absolute fire. Richard Brody called her performance the movie's only redeeming quality, and Variety's Peter DeBrugge praised her for wearing Marie's fragility on the surface, only to reveal the character's strength through reaction shots and silence. 89. 1991. Zendaya next voiced the character of Lola Bunny in Space Jam: A New Legacy. 92. She accepted Coogler's offer to star in the film because of her interest in working with him and being a fan of the original 1996 film. 93. Growing up with the first film, Zendaya drew on her experiences with her family's love of basketball for the role. 94. Zendaya played Chani in Denis Villeneuve's science fiction film Dune, the first part of a two-part adaptation of the 1965 novel of the same name. 95. Critic Glenn Kenny dubbed her portrayal better than apt, while Brian Lowry of CNN noted that her role was limited to gauzy images in the protagonist's visions. 96. 97. Zendaya reprised her role as MJ for the third time in Spider-Man: No Way Home. RoachRevert.com's Brian Tallarico praised Zendaya and Tom Holland's chemistry as well as her execution of MJ's emotional final beats. 98. Having already collaborated with Labyrinth on the song All For Us for Euphoria's first season, in 2022 Zendaya co-wrote two songs, I'm Tired and Elliot's Song, for the second season, also performing as a vocalist on the former. Receiving continued acclaim for her performance as Rue, the second season of Euphoria earned her 4 Emmy nominations. Nominated for Lead Actress in a Drama for the second time, she became the youngest two-time nominee in Emmy history, while her nomination as an executive producer for Outstanding Drama Series made her the youngest woman ever nominated for producing. She also received 2 nominations for Outstanding Original Music and Lyrics for her lyrical contributions to the show's soundtrack. 99. In 2023, Zendaya won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress, Television Series Drama at the 80th Golden Globe Awards and received a Screen Actors Guild Awards nomination for her work in Euphoria. 101. Zendaya and co-star Timothée Chalamet promoting Dune, Part 2 in 2024. Zendaya made an appearance in Elvis Mitchell's documentary Is That Black Enough for You? 102. During the second weekend of Coachella 2023, she joined Labyrinth in a surprise performance of All For Us and I'm Tired, which marked her first return to the stage in 8 years. 103-104 she was featured on the opening song The Feels of Labyrinth's third album Ends and Begins. 105 Zendaya next appeared in the documentary film Invisible Beauty, based on work of American fashion model and activist Beth Ann Hardison. 106. In 2024, Zendaya reprised her role as Chani in the sequel Dune, Part 2. The film was released in March to highly positive reviews, with her performance also receiving praise. 107 Zendaya next starred in and produced the romantic sports drama Challengers, directed by Luca Guadagnino, opposite Josh O'Connor and Mike Faist. 108-109 she described the role as an opportunity to shed her younger image and play a woman closer to her own age. 110-111 The film was released in the United States in April to critical acclaim, with Zendaya's performance getting particular praise. 112-113-114-115 In her review for The New Statesman, Simran Hans wrote that the film is a brilliant showcase for Zendaya, whose on-screen magnetism has rarely been channeled so effectively. 116 She received a nomination for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy. 117. Zendaya will next star opposite Robert Pattinson in the romantic drama The Drama and in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, 2026. 118-119 She is set to appear as MJ for the fourth time in Spider-Man, Brand New Day, 2026. 120 She will also reprise her role as Rue Bennett in the third season of Euphoria. 121. In March 2025, it was announced that she had been cast as Ronnie Spector in Be My Baby, a biopic directed by Oscar winner Barry Jenkins for A24. 122 Zendaya will also serve as producer on the project, alongside Mark Platt, Adam Siegel, Mark Itkin, Tom Shelley, and Jenkins' Pastel Company partners Adele Romansky and Mark Ciriac. The screenplay is written by David Kajanik and is based on Spector's 1990 memoir of the same name. 123 Ronnie Spector personally selected Zendaya for the role before her death in 2022, having been attached to the project since 2020 when it was first announced. 124. Other activities. Fashion and business. Zendaya promoting Smallfoot in 2018. Zendaya was the face of Beats Electronics 125X Out 126 Material Girl 127 CoverGirl 128 and Chi Hair Care. 129 She has also modeled for Michael Kors 130 and Dolce & Gabbana. 131 In August 2013, she released her debut book, Between You and Me, How to Rock Your Tween Years with Style and Confidence to help girls through the tougher parts of the tween years. 132-133 In August 2015, she introduced a shoe collection called Daya, which was her childhood nickname. 134 In November 2016, Zendaya's clothing line Daya by Zendaya went on sale. The second collection was gender fluid and included a full range of sizes. 135 In October 2018, she became Tommy Hilfiger brand's ambassador and co-designed Tommy x Zendaya capsule collections. 136 She took inspiration from the 1970s, namely the decades-strong, iconic women, and her runway shows at Paris Fashion Week and New York Fashion Week have been praised for celebrating diversity and inclusivity, including women of color, plus-size models, and models aged up to 70. 137-138 The shows were a tribute to the pioneering model icons. 139 In 2019, Zendaya became a spokesmodel for Lancome 140 and in the following year for Bulgari and Valentino. 141-142 In June 2022, she was announced as the global brand ambassador of Glacier Smart Water. 143 She became an ambassador for Louis Vuitton in 2023. 144. Zendaya was ranked one of the best-dressed women in 2018 by fashion website Net-a-Porter. 145 for the September 2020 In Style issue. She and her stylist, LaRoche, chose to use all black designers, artists, and creatives. 146 in October 2020, she won the Visionary Award at the CNMI Green Carpet Fashion Awards for promoting diversity and inclusion in fashion and film. 147 the following year in November, she became the youngest person to ever win the CFDA Fashion Icon Award at the CFDA Fashion Awards. 148. Philanthropy and activism. Zendaya has lent her support to several charities and causes. In 2012, she became an ambassador for Convoy of Hope and encouraged fans to support Hurricane Sandy response efforts. 149 the following year, she promoted other relief efforts. In 2014, Zendaya recorded John Legend's song All of Me with a portion of the proceeds going to the organization. 150 in 2016, she celebrated her 20th birthday with a campaign to raise $50,000 to support Convoy's Women's Empowerment Initiative. 149 in October 2012, Zendaya performed at the Medical Operation Smile Benefit. 39 she was UNICEF's Trick or Treat 2014 campaign spokesperson. 151 in July 2015, she visited South Africa with UNAIDS, the United Nations program dedicated to preventing and creating access to treatment for HIV and AIDS. Then she also held a fundraiser with CrowdRise, with proceeds going to non-profit, community-based, Akajang charity in Soweto for a family of AIDS orphans. 13 When Malcolm and Marie, filmed during the pandemic, was sold in September 2020, a portion of the proceeds was shared with Feeding America. 87 in October 2023, she voiced support for Palestine. 152. Zendaya supports campaigns to raise awareness about underserved communities, underprivileged schools, and to financially support schools. In September 2017, she partnered with Verizon Foundation as a spokesperson for their national #WayneEdMore initiative to bring technology, access, and learning opportunities to children. 153 in March 2018, Zendaya teamed up with Google.org to support students at a community school in Oakland funding an innovative computer science curriculum. 154. Zendaya is a feminist. 155 She has previously discussed her experience as a black female in Hollywood. 156 157 She took part in the George Floyd protests in June 2020 and temporarily lent her Instagram account to Patrice Cullis to share anti-racism resources and media. 158 Zendaya has been an advocate for voting over the years. In October 2016, she was one of the celebrities to participate in Vote Your Future initiative and appeared in a campaign video. 159 in September 2020, she encouraged her fans with Michelle Obama, and her When We All Vote nonpartisan 160 organization, to check their voter registration ahead of elections. 160 The next month, she shared a video while casting her vote to remind about voting again. 161 in October 2013, she took part in P&G's movement called Mean Stinks, and co-hosted the nationwide live-streamed assembly joined by almost 500 schools. 162 163 in September 2017, she was fronting, along with her Spider-Man, Homecoming co-stars, a PSA for awareness campaign Stomp Out Bullying. 164. Personal life. Zendaya owns a home in Los Angeles and a condo in Brooklyn. 165 166 She is a vegetarian, saying, "My main reason for being a vegetarian is that I'm an animal lover, definitely not because I love vegetables." 167 She first publicly acknowledged her relationship with British actor and Spider-Man co-star Tom Holland in November 2021. 168-121 She found the consistent media attention their relationship received to be quite strange and weird and confusing and invasive. 168 The couple moved into a £3 million home in London together in 2023. 169 They became engaged in December 2024. Dune, Part 2 is a 2024 American epic space opera film directed by Denis Villeneuve, who co-wrote the screenplay with Jon Spaihts. The sequel to Dune, 2021, it is the second of a two-part adaptation of the 1965 novel Dune by Frank Herbert, and the second installment of Villeneuve's Dune film trilogy. It follows Paul Atreides as he unites with the Fremen people of the desert planet Arrakis to wage war against House Harkonnen. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Charlotte Rampling, and Javier Bardem reprise their roles from the first film, with Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Christopher Walken, and Léa Seydoux joining the cast. Development began after Legendary Entertainment acquired film and television rights for the Dune franchise in 2016. Villeneuve signed on as director in 2017, intending to make a two-part adaptation of the novel due to its complexity. Production contracts were only secured for the first film before the second film was greenlit by Legendary in October 2021, subject to the success of the first. Principal photography took place in Budapest, Italy, Jordan, and Abu Dhabi between July and December 2022. Delayed from a November 2023 release date due to the 2023 Hollywood labor disputes, Dune, Part 2 premiered at the Auditorio Nacional in Mexico City on February 6, 2024. It was released in the United States on March 1 to positive reviews and grossed $715 million worldwide, surpassing its predecessor and becoming the seventh highest grossing film of 2024. It received numerous accolades, including being named one of the top 10 films of 2024 by the American Film Institute. It received 5 nominations at the 97th Academy Awards, including Best Picture, winning Best Sound and Best Visual Effects. It also won 2 BAFTAs for Best Sound and Best Special Visual Effects, and received 2 nominations at the 82nd Golden Globe Awards, including Best Motion Picture, Drama. Dune, Part 3, a third film based on Herbert's 1969 novel Dune Messiah, is in production and scheduled to be released on December 18, 2026. Plot. Following the defeat of House Atreides by House Harkonnen, Princess Irulan, daughter of the Padishah Emperor, Shaddam IV records in her journal her father's betrayal of the Atreides. On the planet Arrakis, a Fremen tribe led by Stilgar accompanies Paul Atreides and his pregnant Bene Gesserit mother Lady Jessica to Siege Tabr. Some Fremen suspect they are spies, while Stilgar and others see signs of the prophecy that a mother and son from the outer world will bring prosperity to Arrakis. The Fremen accept Paul, but Stilgar commands Jessica to succeed Siege Tabr's dying Reverend Mother by ritually drinking the normally fatal water of life. She uses her Bene Gesserit training to transmute the poisonous liquid and survive, inheriting the memories of past Reverend Mothers. The liquid prematurely awakens the mind of her unborn daughter, Alia, allowing Jessica to communicate with her. They agree to focus on convincing the more skeptical northern Fremen of the prophecy, which Chani and her friend Shishakli correctly deduce to be a myth fabricated by the Bene Gesserit to manipulate the Fremen. Nonetheless, Chani begins to respect Paul after he declares that he only seeks to fight alongside the Fremen, not rule them. Paul and Chani fall in love as Paul immerses himself in Fremen culture, learning their language, becoming a Fedaykin fighter, riding a sandworm, and raiding Harkonnen spice harvesting operations. Paul adopts the Fremen names Yozol, translate the strength of a pillar, and Muad'Dib, translate kangaroo mouse. Due to the continuing spice raids, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen installs his cunning and sadistic nephew Feyd-Rautha as Arrakis ruler. Lady Margot Fenring of the Bene Gesserit is sent to evaluate Feyd-Rautha as a prospective Kwisatz Haderach and secure his genetic lineage. Jessica travels south to unite with Fremen fundamentalists who believe most strongly in the prophecy. Paul remains in the north, fearful that his visions of an apocalyptic holy war will come to pass if he goes south as a messiah. During a raid on a smuggler's spice harvester, Paul reunites with the warrior Gurney Halleck, who leads Paul to house Atreid's hidden atomic warhead stockpile. Phaedra unleashes a devastating attack on the northern Fremen, destroying Siege Tabor, killing Shishakli, and forcing Paul and the survivors to journey south. Upon arrival, Paul drinks the water of life and falls into a coma. Jessica hypnotically compels Chani to save Paul. She gives Paul a mixture of her tears with the water of life, which awakens him. With his emerging prescience, Paul perceives countless possible futures and identifies a narrow path to victory, along with a vision of an adult Alia on a water-covered Arrakis. He also discovers that his mother Jessica is the Baron's daughter, and that her union with Duke Leto Atreides was orchestrated by the Bene Gesserit to merge Harkonnen and Atreides bloodlines in their plan to create the Kwisatz Haderach. Paul meets with the Southern Fremen War Council, galvanizing the crowd by demonstrating his ability to discern their deepest thoughts. He declares himself the Lisan al-Gaib, a messianic figure, and challenges the Emperor, who arrives on Arrakis with Irulan and the Sardaukar military force. As the Emperor chastises the Harkonnens for their failures, the Fremen launch an offensive, using atomics and sandworms to overpower the Sardaukar. Paul kills the Baron and captures the Emperor. Meanwhile, Gurney leads an assault on Arrakeen, intercepting and killing Phaedra's brother and subordinate beast Rabban. Paul challenges the Emperor for the throne and, to Chani's dismay, demands to marry Irulan. Having been summoned by the Baron, the other great houses arrive in orbit, ready to invade the planet, but Paul threatens to destroy the spice fields if they intervene. Phaedra volunteers as the Emperor's champion and is killed by Paul in their duel. Irulan agrees to marry Paul on condition that he spare her father. The Emperor reluctantly surrenders, but the great houses reject Paul's ascendancy and Paul orders the Fremen to attack the orbiting fleet. As Stilgar leads the Fremen onto the captured Sardaukar ships, Jessica and Alia reflect on the beginning of Paul's holy war. Chani refuses to bow to Paul and prepares to depart alone on a sandworm. Cast: Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides, the exiled Duke of House Atreides who sides with the Fremen to overthrow the tyrannical House Harkonnen. Zendaya as Chani, a young and rebellious Fremen warrior who is Paul's love interest. 5. Rebecca Ferguson